Hello, spending the weekend in freezing but beautiful Sedona, Arizona, and had a thought that occurred to me, a topic that I wanted to cover. It kind of spawned based on a conversation that I had this evening, and then I had basically the exact same conversation with someone else a couple of days ago. And um, as a libertarian, I'm sure that you've had the conversation with someone who claims that terrorists attack the U.S. because they hate us for our freedoms. So, of course, when this is analyzed, it's fairly clear that that's not the case, and that conclusion can really only be reached by listening to a bunch of propaganda. So I want to go through and analyze it. The first piece of evidence is basically that the Quran tells non-believers to take over the world. The Christian Bible includes passages such as, they entered into a covenant to seek the Lord, the God of their fathers, with all their heart and soul. All who would not seek the Lord, the God of Israel, were to be put to death, whether small or great, man or woman. That's from 2 Chronicles chapter 15, verses 12 through 13. And the Quran includes very similar passages. So someone claiming that Muslims are prone to terrorism because the Quran tells them to kill non-believers is in the position of having to explain why Christians aren't prone to terrorism, even though the Bible tells them to kill non-believers as well. Now, if it's true that Muslims engage in terrorist activities because of our freedoms, or because they don't like our lifestyles, then we would expect them to attack other countries with those same attributes just as much. In fact, because of vicinity, we might actually expect them to attack other similar countries even more heavily, just because it'd be easier to inflict more damage with proximity. Which would mean that we'd be seeing Islamic terrorists attacking Switzerland, but we don't see that. Switzerland doesn't have Islamic suicide bombers or people, flying planes into buildings. Those are the two simple ones. The third one is a lot less obvious. In fact, I think some people in the Muslim world will say they hate Americans, they hate various things about us, they hate the clothes that women wear, what we have on TV, people don't cover up enough, we're corrupting their culture. And it might be very true that they hate those things, but those things don't make them strap bombs to themselves. I mean, think about it. What would it take for you to blow yourself up? Would disliking somebody or what somebody put on TV do it? Even if that was something that you were very opposed to? Probably not. Most people value their lives too much for something like that. I'm going to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent here. It'll make sense though. I run an IT sales and service company, and while most of our clients are very satisfied with the services that we provide, we are human. We do make the occasional mistake. So because most people generally have an inadequate understanding of technology, some of these mistakes are simply due to miscommunication. For instance, let's say that if someone buys a computer and didn't ask for a specific program, probably because they didn't know to ask, they just thought that all the stuff they needed comes with every computer, they might be upset when they get the computer home and find out that the program's not there. So after the fact, of course, this is all explained to them. Let's say there's another similar type of snafu, like let's say the speakers that came with them weren't what they were expecting. They were expecting something different, and we show them, no, these are the speakers that you got are the ones that were in the brochure. They're the ones that we had on display. They match. And they say, okay, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. So we explain all that stuff. Everything's good. Customer's happy. Everything else has gone well. All miscommunications have been resolved. So let's assume that this person is really unlucky, and when we're transferring their data from their old computer to their new computer, we lose some of the critical files, and absolutely this would be our fault. Now when this person starts complaining, and justly, about our service, he's going to start itemizing everything bad that happened during that time, whether it was our fault or not. He'll say that we lost his data, that he didn't get the software that he was supposed to get, that he got the wrong speakers, and he'll list all of these things as being things that went wrong during the transaction, implying that everything here was our fault. This is all bad, and this is why he doesn't like us, because of all of these things. When in fact, only one of those things was our fault. But when he's going out telling people about the company, his experience with, he's going to say, oh, this went wrong, this was all this stuff went wrong. Whereas those first two things would never have been a problem. It was this third thing, this last thing, that actually caused all these other things to be problems, or at least for him to portray them as problems to other people. So, when the U.S. military, along with the militaries of various other countries, because the U.S. is not alone in these sorts of things, occupy Middle Eastern territories, it all comes out. We hate you because your TV is scum, because your women don't cover up, because you're corrupting our culture, because your governments impose on us. But it's really only the last one that's the problem. Like the U.S. military bases on their holy lands, sanctions supporting dictators like Saddam or the Shah of Iran, and many other actions by the U.S. and other governments that make us look hypocritical. And when you know what the U.S. government does in the Middle East and how long it's been doing it, this actually makes a lot of sense. So how would you react if a foreign country came with its military into the U.S. and started screwing with our government? They started putting troops on the streets. They started imposing their own set of rules, independent of whatever rules we had. We might not like those things. We'd point out all the things that we hate about them. We wouldn't just limit it to the things that are justly their fault. We would point out everything we don't like. We'd make fun of their shoes. We'd talk about their stupid haircuts. I mean, whatever it was we didn't like, and we'd say these are all the things that we hate about them, because we're just going to say everything that we don't like that's wrong. We're going to find things that we don't like. We're going to make stuff up, whatever it is. But all those things don't really matter. They only matter because of what the stuff they've actually done to us, because they're occupying our country. Those are the things that are going to make us really mad, and if without those things, the other things, okay, so maybe I don't like the way their shoes look, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't really care. But after, none of this stuff would result to in a call to action. None of it would justify a call to action. It's the occupation that does. And so when this goes on for decades, like it has been in Middle Eastern countries, we likely resort to violent tactics once all other options have failed, which is what people in the Middle East have been doing. I mean, they've tried various other diplomatic options, not to say that any of the responses are justified. Of course they're not. Of course they're going after the wrong people. You don't take down towers of innocent people when you're trying to make a point. That's not the right way to do it. So not justifying any of this at all. Not blaming Americans in any of this at all. Blaming the U.S. government, yes. Not blaming Americans, not the same thing. So not only does this make sense logically and according to what we know about human nature, but it also fits with the analysis that experts have made on the subject. For instance, Michael Schur, who's the former head of the CIA's Bin Laden unit, had this to say: in the long run, we're not safer because we're still operating on the assumption that we're hated because of our freedoms, when in fact we're hated because of our actions in the Islamic world. There's our military presence in Islamic countries, the perception that we control the Muslim world's oil production, our support for Israel and for countries that oppress Muslims like China, Russia, and India, and our own support for Arab tyrannies. Publicly promoting democracy while supporting tyranny may be the most damaging thing we do. So hopefully this clears that up quite a bit, and I really hope they hate us for our freedoms argument goes away, because as long as that exists and people don't understand why our government is hated by people in other countries, there's no end to this. It's not going to go away. So like I said, hopefully that clears that up a bit. And of course, I always recommend that everyone visit libertariansolution.com, check out the other videos, check out the articles, check out the shows. We've got lots of good content up there, and we'll see you next time.